What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another post-game show here on Mets Central. This is Mets Fan Reaction, game 143, where the New York Mets dropped the finale of this three-game set against the Cincinnati Reds by a final score of 3-2. And unfortunately, the Mets ultimately dropped the series to the Cincinnati Reds by a score of 2-1. And as a result of that, they dropped the season series to the Cincinnati Reds by a score of 4-2. So if the Mets are, in line with the Reds for the final wildcard spot, unfortunately, because the Mets lost this game, the Reds, like I said, in this hypothetical situation, the Reds would get the final wildcard spot over the New York Mets due to the Reds having the tiebreaker over the Mets. And look, in this game, basically the simplest way to break this down is you don't score, you don't hit the ball well, you're going to lose baseball games. And look, I get it. The Mets faced Hunter Green today. Hunter Green is a fantastic pitcher. He's got fantastic velo on his fastball. Has a very good slider. Has very good has very good secondary stuff and very good breaking stuff. But that is not an excuse for the Mets bats and offense to disappear. Because let's face it, for most of this game, the Mets offense was non-existent, completely non-existent. Hunter Green was completely dominating and shutting down this lineup easily. And he was mainly doing it one way. All he was doing was pumping his fastball. And look, I get it. Hunter Green is a fantastic fastball. He has the ability to pump 100-mile-an-hour plus stuff on his fastball consistently. But like I said, for this team, and for this lineup and for the amount of money that this lineup is making in terms of money-wise, that is not a good excuse. Because look, during the playoffs, as me and Evan have stated constantly throughout this regular season, whenever the Mets face good pitchers, you're going to face good pitchers come playoff time. And nowadays, these good pitchers have very good velos on their fastball. And to me, I was just very disappointed because when I was watching this game, right, you could tell right away Hunter Green's strategy. Like I said, it was just pumping fastballs. And for me, it was just very disappointing because this offense for the last couple weeks has been very good. And they've been hitting the fastball well. And to me, it was just disappointing that Hunter Green kept pumping his fastball over the middle of the plate, and there was no adjustments made by this lineup. It seems like every single time, whoever was going up to swing the bat, whether it was Lindor, Soto, Pete, Nimmo, none of them were prepared to hit the fastball. And again, it's one of the main reasons why they lost this game, because Hunter Green kept pumping his fastball, and no one on the offense was prepared to hit his fastball. But the other part of this game, and I'm sure everyone was excited to watch Brandon Sproat make his debut. Yes, Brandon Sproat did make his major league debut, and for the most part, in my opinion, I thought Brandon Sproat pitched very well. Now, look, he did have his little trouble in the sixth inning, where he gave up the 2 runs, and the Reds were able to go up 3-1 in this game. But ultimately, like what John talked yesterday, I really can't put too much blame on Brandon Sproat today. He went out there, he pitched well. For the majority of the time, he did throw strikes, which he did have a little bit of command issues throughout this game. Not too much, because for the most part, he was commanding the strike zone well. But there were times in this game where, Sproat did lose command of the strike zone, and it did come back to hurt him. Most notably, one time in this game in the bottom of the fourth inning. But I really liked Brandon Sproat's stuff this game. And, I thought his fastball was okay. That was kind of the one pitch he did have a lot of control issues, especially early in the game. Because if you guys recall to the first batter of this game, where I believe it was Jake Friedel or TJ Friedel, he was leading off the game, and Sproat ended up he ended up walking him to start off the game. But his first 3 pitches were fastball, and he kept missing arm side on that fastball to get the count 3-0, and then he ended up walking him on 4 straight pitches to initiate a leadoff walk. But the one thing that I really liked from Brandon Sproat was his breaking balls, most notably his curveball and his slider. They were very good. And I mean, if you just look at the breakdown on Baseball Savant, right, and most notably because the one issue that I really had, and Evan, mentioned this on the post game yesterday, the one issue we had with Jonah Tong yesterday was he really wasn't mixing up a lot of his pitches. Because if you looked at Tong's start yesterday, he really just threw a ton of fastballs. But with Sproat, I thought he did a really good job of mixing up his stuff. And and you could just see that from the breakdown of Baseball Savant. In total, through 88 pitches across 6 innings, 24 sinkers, 19 curveballs, 19 sweepers, 11 fastballs, 8 changeup, and 7 sliders. And really, just when you look from the swings and miss stuff, I mean, the sweeper, 11 swings, 3 whiffs, curveball, 9 swings, 2 whiffs, slider, 3 wins, 1 whiff. So really, his secondary stuff was very strong in this game, but it was just kind of, and not only was it the walks that kind of hurt him because he did have 4 walks in this outing, it was the type of walks he was giving off. And there was 3 times in this game where Spro ended up walking the leadoff guy in the inning. And there's really 2 times where you really want to avoid walking hitters. It's either walking the leadoff guy or walking someone when there's 2 outs. And like I said, in the first inning, I believe he walked the leadoff guy. In the third inning, he walked the leadoff guy, and then the fourth inning, he ended up walking the leadoff guy. And in the fourth inning, I believe that was Novelli Marte that he ended up walking, and he ended up coming around to score to tie the game up at 1-1. But really, like I said before, I really can't blame Brandon Sproat too much because he was going out there, like he had plenty of swings and missed stuff. Like I said, cut back on the walks a little bit and the timeliness of the walks. And I believe that was Sproat all in all. He had a good outing. And listen, what's one of the one things that we criticize Mets pitchers, especially the starters, most of the time, not being able to give this team any type of length. And Sproat went out there and he gave them 6 innings of work, which you really can't complain about. Again, gave up the 3 runs, only gave up, I think, only gave up 4, or it was, he only gave up 3 hits in this game, which, again, not terrible for a major league start. But like I said, all in all for Sproat, he had a decent start. It's just, make a couple adjustments here and there. I think maybe he has to work a little bit on the fastball command, get that a little bit on the reps, and just work on the walks. But again, this was his first start in the major leagues. There was probably a little bit of nerves. Of course, he had his family up there, but all in all, had a good start. He's going to make adjustments. Brandon Sproat, I believe, will be fine at the major league level. But like I said before, the main reason the Mets lost this game was the offense didn't show up. The offense didn't show up. And listen, they had a chance to at least tie the game in the 9th inning. But ultimately, when you leave yourself that little amount of time to tie up a game or take the lead in a game, ultimately you're playing with fire. And that's what happened to this team, because like I said, for the most part, Hunter Green completely shut the Mets lineup down this whole game. And I believe that, Hunter Green, he went 7 full innings, only gave up the 1 run, which was a Brett Beatty solo home run, and only gave up 1 hit, and I believe only walked 2 hitters. Listen, I'm sorry. To me, and listen, like I said, I get it. Hunter Green is a very good pitcher, has very good velo on his fastball. But to me, when you're only going out there and you're facing him for 7 innings and you're only getting 1 run, 1 hit and 2 walks, it's not good enough. And it was part of the reason why for me, because if you guys recall when we did the podcast with Carson breaking down the last series and previewing this Red series, which make sure you guys check out Mets Weekly. They do a fantastic job on their channel. But to me, I said that for the series, I wanted to win the series, and I wanted to win the first 2 games of the series just because I didn't want to put, a ton of pressure on Brandon Sproat, to go out there and make sure he had to win the finale of the series. And then, because we saw Hunter Green, he was scheduled to pitch this final game. And we know that this offense kind of struggles with facing, very good pitchers. I didn't want them to go out there and, make that game have to be, a must-win game to win this series. And unfortunately, because they lost yesterday's game, they put themselves in that position. And ultimately, the offense didn't come through, and they lost this game. So anyway, guys, apologies just for starting this post game off a little bit late. I was watching the final game of the Jets game, which they lost that game too. So not a great Sunday for me with the Mets losing and the Jets losing, but it is what it is. You got to continue with it, and we're doing this post game show now. And also, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe on the channel. We always appreciate you guys' support here on the channel, and also make sure to hit the notification bell as well to make sure you guys to make sure you guys know anytime we go live or upload a video on the channel. But let's actually get now into the actual game breakdown. As I said, for the Mets, Brandon Sproat was on the mound, and then on the mound for the Reds, it was Hunter Green. So start off the game, top of the first, Francisco Lindor lead off, and a quick 1-2-3 here by Hunter Green, and again, just pumping his fastball And Lindor did kind of have a good at bat in his first at bat, kind of made Hunter Green work a little bit, but he struck out. Juan Soto came up, got 3 pitches, he ended up striking out, and then Pete Alonso strikes out. So very good inning there for Hunter Green. He strikes out the side, bottom of the first. TJ Friedl with walk. Noel V. Marte would hit into a double play, and then Ellie De La Cruz would strike out on a beautifully executed curveball to get Brandon Sproat's first strikeout in his major league debut. Top the second, again, another quick 1-2-3 inning here by Hunter Green. The Mets get nothing going offensively. Bottom of the second, a good 1-2-3 inning here by Brandon Sproat. He retires the Reds in order. Top of the third, Francisco Lindor would start off the inning with a strikeout, but Brett Beatty would end up hitting a home run into right field to put the Mets up 1-0. Unfortunately, that would be the only run the Mets would put up in this game. Cedric Mullins would strike out, and then Francisco Lindor fly out. We move on to the bottom of the third. Tyler Stevenson would walk. Brian Hayes would strike out. Matt McLain would strike out, and then TJ Friedl would strike out. So good inning there by Brandon Sproat, apart from the leadoff walk. Top of the fourth, Juan Soto would be called out on strikes. Pete Alonso would fly out. Brennan Nim would walk. Unfortunately, Starling Marte would ground out to end that inning. We then move into the bottom of the fourth. And again, this is where the leadoff walk would come back to bite Brandon Sproat, as Noel Marte would walk. He would then steal second base. Ellie De La Cruz would ground out. Noel Marte would move up to third base. And then Austin Hayes would hit a sacrifice fly. Noel Marte tags up on that fly ball and comes in to tie up the game at 1-1. And then Gavin Lux would ground out to end that inning. So the Reds in that inning end up tying the game at 1-1. Top of the fifth, a quick 1-2-3 inning here by Hunter Green as he retires the Mets lineup 1-2-3. Like I said, bottom of the fifth, Sal Stewart flies out. Tyler Stevenson grounds out. Brian Hayes would walk. But thankfully, that walk would not come back to bite Brandon Sproat as he would get Matt McLain to strike out. We then move on to the top of the sixth, another 1-2-3 inning here by Hunter Green. Bottom of the sixth, TJ Friedl strikes out. Noel Marte would hit a single. Ellie De La Cruz would double into right field to bring in Noel Marte. So that would put the Reds up 2-1. And then the next batter, Austin Hayes, would end up hitting a single to left field. Kind of a bad play here by Brett Beatty. The ball kind of gets hit right to him, maybe just a little bit off the side of him to the left. But for me, he should still be making that play. And, if he does make that play, the Mets probably do hold the Reds there to only 2 runs, but Brett Beatty can't come up with that play. Austin Hayes, like I said, with the RBI single, brings in Ellie De La Cruz to put the Reds up 3-1. But thankfully, Sproat would be able to get out of that inning with no more damage done as Gavin Lux strikes out and Sal Stewart strikes out. We then move on to the top of the seventh. A couple of defensive substitutions for the Reds. Pete Alonso would walk, Brendan would strike out, Starling Marte would strike out, and then Jeff McNeil would strike out. That would be Hunter Green's day done. We then move on to the bottom of the seventh. Reed Garrett would come in to replace Brandon Sproat. And just to go over Brandon Sproat's final line for you guys, he goes up there, 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned runs, 4 walks, 7 strikeouts, no home runs allowed, and his ERA currently sits at a 4.50 after his first major league start. So just like I said before for you guys, I like that Sproat gave you 6 innings of work. That's something that we've been begging for Mets starting pitchers to give you at least at the minimum 6 runs. Again, 3 runs, not terrible. It's just for me, mainly the walks has to limit that. I like the swing and miss stuff, was able to get 7 runs. I was able to get 7 strikeouts, but ultimately, like I said for you guys, Sproat was his first start, probably a little bit nervous. He's going to make adjustments. He's going to fix the walks issue, and he'll be fine. So no complaints there from Brandon Sproat. But like I said, we move on to the bottom of the seventh. Reed Garrett comes in to replace Brandon Sproat, and this would be Reed Garrett's first appearance since coming off the IL today, and a very good outing for Reed Garrett. He would strike out Tyler Stevenson. Brian Hayes would then hit a single. Matt McLain pop out, and the TJ Friedl ground out to end that inning. We then move on to the top of the eighth. Nick Martinez would come in to replace Hunter Green, and again, the Mets could not get anything going as Francisco Alvarez flies out. Brett Beatty grounds out. Mark Vientos would come in to pinch hit for Cedric Mullins. Unfortunately, Vientos would ground out to end that inning. We then move on to the bottom of the eighth. Tyler Rogers would come in to replace Reed Garrett. And this is something that I quickly wanted to touch upon because if you guys recall yesterday's game, right, the Mets were in a very similar situation. They were down 4-2, down 2 runs, and for some reason, Carlos Mendoza elected with Ryan Stanek instead of going with one of his high-end relievers. And to me, again, and we've talked about this plenty of times in the podcast, but it seems like for some reason, Carlos Mendoza is so inconsistent with his bullpen decisions because it makes no sense that yesterday's game, you're down 2 runs And again, you're not facing as good of a hitter as Hunter Green, right? But instead, you elect to go to Ryan Stanek. You decide to get cute, and then Stanek ends up backfiring, and he ends up giving up two more, or one more, two more. I forget, because I know, I believe Herget ended up giving up a run in that thing. So he ends up giving up a run, extends the Reds lead to 5-2. But then in this game, you're down 3-1, down by 2 runs, and you elect to go with Tyler Rogers. So again, to me, Mendy's bullpen decision, they make no sense, because why are you electing to get cute in yesterday's game where you're down by 2 runs, but then in today's game, you're in the same situation, down by 2 runs, and then you elect to go with Tyler Rogers in this game? To me, it just makes no entirely sense. Again, I get that maybe Tyler Rogers wasn't available to go in yesterday's game because he pitched the first game of the series, but you have Gregory Soto. And listen, I get that Gregory Soto has been great since he's been acquired by the Mets, but I'd rather watch Gregory Soto pitch than Ryan Stanek go out and pitch. Because again, I get, and people say, but Ryan Stanek ended up coming through in the first game. Okay, great, I get that. But to me, that wasn't the right decision to go with Ryan Stanek in the first game either. And even Evan pointed that out in yesterday's post game, and even in the post game in the first game. Because listen, just because something worked doesn't mean it's going to work again, and doesn't mean it was the right decision. Because the habit of Ryan Stanek coming into these games is, more likely than not, he ends up blowing these games. And listen, he didn't end up blowing it in the first game, but what did we see yesterday? He came in, ended up blowing the game yesterday. So to me, like I said, Mendoza, and we're going to touch upon this more in tomorrow's post-game show, but again, like Mendoza's bullpen management, it completely makes no sense to me. But again, Tyler Rogers comes in, he replaced Reed Garrett. He would end up getting a 1-2-3 inning. So good work there by Tyler Rogers. We then move on to the top of the ninth. Tony Santillan comes in to replace Nick Martinez. Francisco Lindor fly out. Juan Soto would end up hitting a solo home run, his 38th of the year, to cut the lead down to 3-2. And then Pete Alonso ends up reaching on a fielding error. Luis Acuna would come into pinch run for him. Brandon Nimmo would then hit a single. So all of a sudden, first and second, 1 out. Mets have a chance to maybe tie up this game, but unfortunately, Starling Marte breaks his bat, ends up hitting into a game-ending double play, and the Mets end up losing this game 3-2. And again, basically, and again, like we talk about this, but this is one of the main reasons why I can't get too excited over, the Mets having good offensive outbursts, is because we know that the Mets overall, and especially with this group over the last 4 years, they are inconsistently offensively. And look, it's nice that they sometimes have these stretches where they're able to go up there, and hit like 8-7 runs a game. But ultimately, in these games where you're facing these good pitchers, you have to be able to score more than 1 run. And ultimately, because they weren't able to do any type of damage off Hunter Green, aside from the Brett Beatty solo home run in the 3rd inning, Mets lose this game. And listen, like the old cliche in baseball, you don't score runs, you don't win ball games. So, but yeah, I mean, that's basically it. And before I get out of here, just going to go through you guys' comments really quickly. NGPS, what is going on? I don't even bother to watch a game besides a couple highlights, and I feel like I dodged a bullet. I would rather go out and watch the Jets lose than watch this baseball product pathetic loss. Yeah, bad loss. And really, I mean, I can't blame you. I have to watch this game because we're running a channel here, and we have to do these podcasts, and we have to do these post game shows. So, but listen, I don't blame you if you chose to watch the Jets over the Mets. It's ultimately your choice. No Hornet gags. What is going on? No run in scoring position until the 9th. Tragic. Yep, not good enough. Hunter Green completely shut them down in this game. NGPS again. Even if the Mets team does make the postseason, do they even make it past the wild card? And if so, this offense doesn't even hold a candle against the 1st and 2nd seeds. I mean, listen, that's the thing with this offense, and it's one of the main reasons why I always say, like, I don't get too excited when they put up a ton of runs, and I also don't get too down when they have these games where they don't put up a ton of runs, because again, I know that this offense is inconsistent. There's going to be games where they score plenty of runs. There's going to be games where they don't score runs like this game. So, listen, listen, with them making the postseason, I do think they make the postseason, but how far they go depends ultimately on this offense. And I could see games where they put up a ton of runs, and then I could see games like this where they don't put up any runs. And it's going to be interesting how far they go in the postseason. I mean, first of all, they have to make the postseason, and I know that's not even a guarantee to begin with. I do think they will make the postseason, but we'll see. But listen, this offense and how well they produce, it's going to determine how far they make the post or how far they go in the postseason. So, but we'll see what happens. Hornagax, no issue with Spro today. No run support. Absolutely agree. Spro, like I said, Spro for me was fine. Just has to cut back on the walks a little bit. Had the swing and miss stuff, but ultimately, like you said, Hornet, no run support. Horn again. Thanks, Matt. Sorry you had a crappy Sunday. That's all right. Listen, when you watch sports and you're heavily invested in sports, like like I know all of us are, most of the time you're gonna end up, being not happy in terms of happy because most of the time you end up losing than winning. It's just it is how it is. I'm not happy about it, but that's it. That's sports. This is the life that we choose to invest ourselves in, and yeah, we just have to deal with it. But yeah, anyway, guys, thank you guys for tuning into this post game show. As I mentioned before, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe on the channel. We always appreciate you guys' support here on Met Central. Always make sure you guys hit the notification bell as well to make sure it lets you guys know anytime we upload a video, we're live on the channel. And yeah, we are going to do a podcast tomorrow. I believe we usually do it around 2 o'clock. So expect the post game there, breaking down this game and then previewing the upcoming 4-game set against Philadelphia and Philly. But anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for me. Enjoy the rest of football Sunday. And yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out, baby. Let's go, Mets.